stupid Americans. Don't you realize after our mostly peaceful invasion, we are here to help? You will all get in line for mandatory mRNA vaccine.
What are you getting for range?
I'm getting about 540.
Yeah, I'm getting about the same.
If you don't get that shout, immediate execution for not to trust the science.
Help me get this on.
Oh, yeah.
Also, anyone who do not agree with the state mandated homosexuality, only straight for you is a straight to re-education camp.
We'll fire on the what of one.
It went on 0, like after 1.
Trust me, dude, it's what the cool guys do.
Dude, you're right. Let's do this.
You can finally own nothing and be so happy.
3, 2.
Anyone who refuses.
Hey guys, we're here today with Justin at Day Mountain Ranch in Idaho. Justin served as a Special Forces guy. He was a level 1 sniper qualified guy, which basically means he knows how to shoot a lot better than I do. Justin, you want to introduce yourself and talk about what you do here?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, I spent about 7 years active duty in the military, and when I got out, I moved out here to southern Idaho and just started farming with my family. So nowadays, I teach civilian courses. We do a course out here called Whipper, Western Practical Precision Rifle, where we basically just take guys out here in the mountains and we teach them how to shoot through mountainous terrain, through like non-standard shooting positions, and we also do some fun stuff, some competitions. What we'll do is we'll just put a link in the description below. There's a website you can access it, and then me and some of the other owners, we also have Instagram accounts where we're advertising it constantly as it comes up. So we'll just put some links below, and that makes it easy for you guys to just click on it if you're interested.
The only other sponsor for this video would be my company, 18 Arrows. We're working on a few products, but the only product available right now, our flagship product, is called the Ruck Belt. Basically, it's just a super thin belt. You got one on?
I got one on.
That's what's up. The belt is 0.5 millimeter thick, which basically means it's perfect if you're wearing a ruck because it's so thin you can't even tell that you're wearing a ruck. So check that out at 18arrows.com. All right, so let's get to what we're here for. Why would a civilian ever need a sniper rifle? Justin, your thoughts?
Well, I mean, the first thing that comes to my mind is it's your right to be able to have it. You know, we live in a country that allows us to have weapons that are capable of punching out to really far distances. Something that goes kind of right along with that is that it's fun. It's fun to learn. I think it's a pretty relaxing hobby. It's expensive, so it kind of can hurt the bank account a little bit, but no, it's fun. It's something that it's good to learn how to do. I think a lot of times when civilians go out and they start getting into this world, they have this idea of doing things that people are doing in the military, or maybe that the world's going to collapse and they're going to have to use this in a way that right now, today in the modern world, they don't need to. And maybe that will happen at some point. But the reality is that it's probably not going to happen right now, but right now is the time to learn it if it did happen.
Like, I'd rather have it and not need it than need it and not have it, right?
Yeah, 100%. And maybe you're not using it for those wild purposes, but maybe you are using it to hunt. You know, maybe you're using it for something to be able to provide food for your family. And I think those are the cases where it makes sense to know these skills and have the tools. Last summer, I'm pretty sure it made national news, but an individual basically went out and started a forest fire. And when the fire department and the police department went to go respond, he had basically created an FFP and was firing at the officer.
FFP stands for?
Like a final firing position. He was taking shots at the fire department and the police officers, and it completely shut down their operation. Like, it was going on for like a day, and I remember the county sheriff coming out with a video and basically saying like, hey, if you're a civilian and you are sniper qualified, please contact the local department. Now, whether that was just because they wanted, you know, your help with observation or tips and advice, or they were actually asking them to come out there and take a shot. Yeah, that was another example where civilians were basically said, like, hey, if you're qualified to do this and you know how to do this, we want you to help out. It ended in a way that YouTube doesn't want to talk about.
So we're getting into like the more extreme possibilities, right? Of like, is it in the realm of possibility? Yeah, maybe. Society collapses, things are totally wild, or there's a foreign invasion, which could happen pretty much anywhere. I don't know. In those more extreme circumstances, like observation, reconnaissance, that could be a useful tool to have that like your typical AR-15 doesn't really give you, but something like this with a more capable optic. As a civilian, you could also use this equipment for hunting, right? So say society is falling apart and there are gangs of really aggressive deer They're going through neighborhoods, going house to house.
Yeah.
So one of these deer sees this buddy take a Magnum caliber round to the chest and he goes down. This other deer has no idea where that round came from. Like, there's a psychological effect to that as well. Maybe that pack of deer will just stay away from that area because, you know what, there's easier targets elsewhere.
Yeah.
So in the foreign invasion scenario, right, like
Yeah.
you're defending your home turf from, again, these really aggressive deer. Let's say you're looking at one of these deer who's looking back in your direction from a mounted 50 cal.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you'd much rather take that shot with one of these rifles than like an AR-15 with iron sights.
Oh
right?
yeah. Yeah, 100%. The capability you get from having something like this allows you to confidently take shots like that. You know, even if you have a red dot on an AR-15, you can only punch out so far confidently. Now I can ID exactly what's going on and understand if it's a shot I should even take or even want to take, and then have the confidence that my gun's gonna be able to get a first round impact.
Yeah. If somebody's looking at getting into this world, should they be looking at a bolt gun, a gas gun? Like,
Yeah.
what makes the most sense for people?
I think the first thing you gotta look at is what your budget is. I don't think anyone should go into debt over buying a long gun. Now, let's say you have a budget figured out, then you gotta ask yourself, like, what's the purpose? Do I want to use this gun for hunting as well? Am I just gonna be using this gun for a hobby? Do I wanna go and compete? You know, what am I trying to do with this gun? Because obviously, if you're looking to hunt, then maybe buying something like a Magnum is more appealing to you. Whereas if you're looking to go and compete and you're gonna be training a lot, then maybe buying a round that has high performance but low cost so that you can be out and be shooting quite often is gonna be more appealing. Obviously with gas guns and bolt guns, there's a lot of differences between them. Kind of your standard thing that everyone kind of knows and is gonna talk about, like a bolt gun, you're gonna get some more accuracy. You're probably gonna have a longer barrel and be able to punch out to a little bit farther distances. Whereas a gas gun, maybe you're not gonna be shooting out as far, maybe not gonna be as accurate, but you can shoot faster or you can carry more rounds. Now, I will say this, I think in the past couple of years, there's been quite a few companies who are kind of bridging the gap between gas guns and bolt guns. Nowadays, if you have the money to spend and you go to the right manufacturer, you can find gas guns that are sub MOA and can reach out to a mile and are extremely impressive. And so in my eyes, if I had to pick one, I'm probably gonna go with a gas gun just because of the capability that gas guns have today, where I can kind of get the best of both worlds. Really, at the end of the day, it comes down to preference.
If I had to have one rifle, it would be the gas gun for sure. Like a gas 6.5 Creedmoor, I feel like that's like the new hotness right now.
Yeah.
Let's talk optics, and then we've got laser rangefinders on both of these guys, suppressors, like all the stuff you throw on the rifle afterwards, like what's necessary versus what's just kind of nice to have.
So obviously your glass is going to be necessary. People used to always say, spend all the money on the glass and then, you know, get the budget rifle is kind of what I would always hear. Like if you're going to go for one, the glass is more important than the rifle. And though I don't disagree with that, there are a lot of companies making cheap optics that perform very well. So if you're new to the game, I'd recommend looking at some of those. Obviously, like on both of these guns, we have weapons mounted laser rangefinders. These are completely unnecessary, especially if you're looking to just get started in it. A lot of these are pretty expensive, though they offer you a lot of value and information and they offer it to you fast. It's all information that you can kind of gather on your own and have on like a QB sleeve or something that can also provide you, that information. So I don't think they're necessary. They're more of a want than they are a need.
All right, if you had to choose between having a suppressor or having the laser rangefinder, we're talking like real world use, what would you go with?
Oh my gosh, that's a tough one. I mean, my first thought is suppressor. I mean, we're talking real world.
Yeah.
It might help me stay hidden.
I was gonna say
and
the same
I can
thing.
do all of this on my own, but I can never suppress the sound.
Yep.
But I mean, this is really nice to have. Now, in the modern world, these might be something that we can't even use if we're going against certain deer who have certain technology, because this is going to give away your location.
I thought these guys used a wavelength that was not visible under night vision. Is that not the case? Maybe Maztec can correct me in the comments or something, but I'm pretty sure the laser wavelength that gets further distance, I don't think is visible under night vision.
Okay.
I think.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's a ton of things. Like you've got honeycomb like covering all your stuff. I know in certain parts of the world in Europe, they've got like glass detection devices. So if you have glass that's basically visible to this laser and it reflects this laser, no more sniper, you know? So there's technology coming out that is making being a sniper more difficult. It's like if I can send a drone downrange that can have similar effects on deer to a sniper that I have to actually send real people downrange to do, it's like, at what point is it like this is something that maybe doesn't make sense anymore?
Yeah, there's a lot of technologies that are out there that I'm not even sure which ones I can talk about or can't talk about. But yeah, you have to understand that if you're gonna do something real world where your life is on the line.
Yeah.
So let's talk gear. So what I want to know is between what you used in the military versus what you see out there now, like you go to a long range shooting match, like a PRS competition or something, the stuff you typically see guys using, what's the crossover? Like what would you use?
So first thing that comes to mind is just like your tripod. This is the exact same thing that I used when I was in the military. These RRS tripods, they're really nice. The swivel heads up top are really easy to use. I think one of the nicest things about these is they're quick to deploy. So I can grab like all these legs if I wanted to with one hand and loosen them all up to extend them at the same time. They're also pretty quiet, which is nice. And then you have the option of like extending them so that you can get really wide and low to the ground. I see these at every competition. There's a couple companies that make some cheaper versions of them, which work fine too, but these were the ones that I used in the military. It's still the one I use now.
Are we rocking the exact same tripod here?
I think so.
Yeah, really right stuff is kind of like the gold standard right now.
Yep. Yep.
Pack, chest rig, like the bino harness. You know, Everly stock like came out with a new line of everything recently, I feel like, and it's all really good stuff. It seems to me like they own the market in the precision shooting game. Military versus civilian, what would you use?
Yeah. So I mean, right now, just because pretty much everything I'm doing is civilian stuff, I am almost exclusively using Everly stock. And the main reason for that, though I do really like the guys up there, is that Everly stock does a really good job of listening to user feedback. So they're constantly feeding packs to guys in the military, guys in the competition space, and getting feedback and then actually making changes on them. In the military, you know, obviously depending on the mission I'm going on, I probably wouldn't use this. And the only reason my mind always goes to these MACV-SOG books I've read in Vietnam, where when they would go and do these like long range reconnaissance missions and they just carried like an absolute ton of ammo, because they knew that it was going to go south and they were going to have to like survive and they were going to have to fight. Obviously, like I said, mission dependent. There might be times where really all I'm doing is recon or observation, and having something like this where I have quick access to binos makes a lot of sense. But where I really think this has a good place is in the competition space, and then also just in the civilian world. They're great for hunting, they're great for competition. That's where I think this chest harness really lives.
What's your thought on instead of binos, like carrying a handgun inside this harness?
I didn't even know that was what was in there. I think that's a great,
good idea, bad idea.
I mean, I think it's a great idea. Now you just opened my eyes to some ideas. I'd never seen that before. Kevin, are you watching this? He's the guy. He's one of the guys up there. Yeah.
Didn't realize until today we're both rocking the same pack, just because it's like really nice.
So this is the new Everly stock Spectre pack that they recently released, and I think the whole idea of the pack was to basically create a pack that allows you to insert and take out your rifle at a much faster rate than what most bags with weapon scabbards allow you to do. If all you have is this little hole at the top where you have to stick a rifle in and out, it can be really hard to get that thing in and out fast. So what they basically introduced was the ability to unzip the entire scabbard so that you can get your rifle out at a faster rate. The pack is pretty popular for competitive shooters, for these team sniper matches where you're on the clock the entire time. But obviously for a military application, it makes a lot of sense too. Like you might be carrying an M4 and have your sniper set up in the bag, but when it comes time to use it, you don't want to be pulling your bag off and then fighting all of the equipment that's mounted to your rifle to be able to get this thing out of the bag. This isn't like a massive bag. This is maybe something that you could use for like a 3-day bag or even like a day bag. And obviously it's because it came from people who were giving them feedback on what they wanted.
Like that said, I know guys who use other packs and they'll mount their sniper rifle on the side of the pack, but you end up potentially with your rifle sticking up like way above your head, which is kind of tough if you're like ducking under branches and stuff. It'll have to be a separate video to like talk about maybe what goes in the pack and like all the specifics. We were kind of talking like some of the modern challenges. So I've got one of these Relv like thermal blankets just kind of tucked in the side pockets. You could pull that out and hide from thermals semi quickly. Last gear question for you, Justin, is sling on a sniper rifle, yes or no?
I would say yes. Now, I think in the military, I think it's mandatory. You know, you never know if you're going to be climbing up a ladder or having to stow your rifle on your back while you go and treat someone for do medical treatment. So I think it makes sense to always have a sling on your rifle. Civilian world, maybe it doesn't make as much sense. If you're just going to the range every day and you're shooting, it might be annoying, get in the way, but it comes down to time and place and what you're doing.
Yeah, that's good feedback. That's it for gear. What other resources do you want to talk about?
As I was preparing for the video, this book came to my mind. The book's called Fry the Brain, and it's just a good resource if you're curious about what the application of a civilian sniper might be. The book kind of focuses more on like urban sniping, but it's just full of case studies and real world examples of how it could look, what could happen, what the situation is. If you're interested in it, go check it out.
Okay, so with that basic understanding of what types of rifles are out there, let's briefly talk through kind of the old school method versus the new school method of like basically everything that you have to do prior to taking a shot.
Yeah, so for the old school method, in order to find range, you have to have a known size of something in the area of your target. A really good example of this could be something like a door. Pretty much anywhere you go, doors all have a very similar size. And so if your target's next to a building and you can mill that door or get the size of the door in mills, and you already have an understanding of what that size is, it gives you the opportunity to actually know the range of the target. So if you look out here at our range, every 100 yards, we have a 1 meter tall target. So I already know the size of that target. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to come into my scope and I'm going to measure in mils the size of that target. So right here, what I'm getting is about 1.8 mils. In the video, it's going to look pretty wobbly because we're standing unsupported with a tripod, but if you were in the prone position, it might be a little bit more still for you. Then what I'm going to do is take the mil relation formula and take that 1 meter and times it by 1,000 and then divide it by the 1.8 that I just measured, okay? And so the target that I was measuring was at 600 yards. Now the formula that I'm using is for meters. Now if I were to take my binos here in meters and range that exact same target, I'm getting 543 meters. If I take that formula that I just gave to you guys, so 1 times 1,000 divided by 1.8, I get 555 meters. We're within 12 meters of the actual distance to that target, which is pretty cool. Then I would take that distance from the formula I just did, I would look at my dope card, I would find what my range is, I would apply it, and I would take my shot. So you see there's like a lot of steps in order to get to that range in order to take the shot. Now in the new world with all this new technology and equipment, you're gonna see how much faster it is for me to actually acquire a range in my data. So what I do is I come here and I get behind the gun. I use my red dot up here to line it up on the target that I'm aiming at, lock in my tripod, get into my scope, and I see my target. Then I'll use my finger down here. I can hit the range button on my weapons mounted laser rangefinder, and immediately it gives me what the distance is, and then it already has my data plugged in to give me what my hold is to take the shot. In less than 10 seconds, I can have all the information I need to get a shot, whereas over here, I'm breaking out a calculator to get all my information.
So what you're saying is that if you can afford a nice laser rangefinder, you can fully replace hundreds of hours of range time.
Maybe not fully replace. You should definitely be able to know how to do both methods, but it is definitely invaluable in terms of like speedy acquisition of targets.
Cool, awesome. All right, guys, closing thoughts. If you're interested in taking an actual course, check out Western Practical Precision Rifle in the link below. If you're interested in being a little more comfortable while you're rucking or carrying a pack, check out the link to the ruck belt below. And very last thing, for the comment section, I have a question for you. I genuinely want to know, when as a civilian could you see yourself needing a sniper rifle? Let me know and see you next time.